can. But, I mean, it's a small watershed to say the least, but if that doesn't work, then we'll have to go back to the Forest Service and let a bridge, I mean, it's a tiny bridge, but they're so anti-bridge right now.
Well, I didn't hear from Tom or Pam.
Pam always rolls in it. Pam o'clock.
Yeah, Tom's got a lot going on. He just moved.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a quorum, so may as well get started. Everyone's all right with that.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
Got a full slate of minutes to approve tonight. So we're back up to date, which is nice.
I mean, yeah.
I got myself confused. I'll take that one. I'll take this one. I'll take this one.
Yeah, maybe
This one. Yeah.
No, no, minutes, sorry. Yeah,
Let
that
me lick my fingers here. And, spit through my mouth.
It's like you're in a Hannaford, you know, you get one of those little plastic bags, you put your lettuce in it.
Yeah, it's like which way? Upside down. Damn it.
Alright, I got 4 packs here.
Yeah, we're going back in time here. No.
Yeah.
No
Yeah,
idea.
2017.
There were a couple things in there that I was like, really? That was in May?
That was actually kind of cool.
We're going to start with May. Is that where we're going to start?
Sure, that makes sense to me.
Pan o'clock.
It's not good to see something you said you were going to do in May and realize you have not done it yet.
The trail back here.
I'm supposed to walk that trail to make sure it's clear, but I definitely have
I
not.
saw
done
that too.
I just saw my name. I was like,
Yeah.
what did I not do?
It is cleared. At least last time I walked it, it was.
Thank you.
I don't know who did it, but.
It's only taken me 5 months to realize I was supposed to do it.
Shall I end the agony and make a motion
Yeah.
to approve the meeting
Sure.
minutes of
All
May?
right. Ken makes the motion, who's second?
Second minutes?
All right.
Thanks for walking on me.
What's that?
Just thanks for walking on.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hi, Pam. Okay, so the May minutes are approved. We'll do August.
Like reading a history book.
Is that, in the August minutes, is that worded correctly, the motorized vehicle biking and parking? I guess I get confused by that. It says motorized recreation use would only allow class 1 e-bikes, but those aren't considered motorized.
That may be accurate based on what we talked about in August. I don't remember when that.
Actually, we said we would allow class 1 and 2 is what's in the.
But they're not considered motorized.
Actually, the state laws don't consider it motorized, but they do allow it to the municipality or the Forest Service, et cetera, to determine whether or not it would still permit it.
No,
So
I just mean the term.
Um,
I don't think we can, I just don't think that's, the term is correct.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering.
actually, if you look at the law itself, I put right in the plan.
He's
But I
not
remember
supposed-
us going back and forth at one point, and then after you had attended that webinar, we clarified, so it might be that, I think in the actual plan, we don't refer to e-bikes as motorized
No,
vehicles.
we wouldn't have, because it's,
That's
Right,
that's what's confusing, like, it says like no motorized vehicles allowed, and the other one's just like no wheeled access, you know, it's like no wheeled motorized, it's like, well,
yeah.
now we're getting this weird spot, like, can a bicycle go here?
Yeah.
So I just think that
It-
sounds,
It should read motorized recreation use would only allow class 1 and 2 e-bikes.
And it's just a question of whether that accurately reflects our conversation during that meeting. Because it could be that at that time, we were thinking about bikes as motorized vehicles, and then Ken went to the webinar and we clarified.
So the meeting after that.
Yeah.
That happens in October.
Oh, we should actually have November minutes as well.
And didn't we approve those already? I think we had the November. No, we didn't, right, because we're.
I think they were distributed electronically, so
Oh, okay,
maybe
we
they
did-
just didn't print them out.
we'd be
today.
doing those as.
Yeah.
Well, I think the correction we want here is motorized recreation use would only allow class 1 and class 2 e-bikes.
Yeah, and I guess yeah,
But that might be in the subheading of the plan minutes, that we might have clarified that.
right. I can go back to the video and see if we were kind of under the impression that e-bikes were considered motorized vehicles at that time, and because the problem is, we may have changed our thinking at this point, but that
Yeah.
just might actually accurately reflect our conversation
You're right.
during
That's true.
the August meeting, so I don't want to change it if that's the case. So I could go and take a look at the video and then ask Eric to update it if necessary.
Yep.
So we can approve these minutes pending that change. I'll make that motion.
That's like
Everyone's ready? Okay, thanks, Brian. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Okay. So August minutes are approved. And October, getting back to close to present day here.
Okay. Yeah. It was like, my goodness, we're being late again, you know?
6:22.
Someone parentheses down, join.
Stumbled in.
Isn't that supposed to be in bold?
All caps. October minutes.
All right, thanks, Brian. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
None opposed. And so October is approved, and now it would just be November, which I believe they were sent around via e-news. I might be able to pull them up. I don't have internet active at the moment.
Regarding something that was on October 4th, just because has there been any more discussion about pruning the apple trees in the orchard? If there has been, I'd be interested in.
The suggestion on that, and I think Dick had kind of said yes, and I did talk with Ellen Chandler, but the best time to do it would be March. And I'd suggested, and I think Mike, you were involved as well, as possibly trying to set it up for the grammar school kids, and the Ski Touring Foundation would help.
Yeah, maybe
Get the
that's-
kids up there, and Dick or somebody who's
It's knowledgeable. Yeah.
knowledgeable.
Yeah.
So that was the general plan that was discussed.
If that's something that they're serious about, I'm happy to, I hadn't mentioned it to the school yet, because I didn't want to, until it's.
And Ellen was gung ho.
Okay, yeah, I'll mention it to the school.
Yeah.
I'd like to be involved in that. That'd be good.
Sorry, I missed that as I was looking for the minutes in my email. What would the plan be?
In March, which is the right time to go up there, is to enlist the grammar school kids and ski touring would, possibly could even tow them up with a piston pulley or something and make it an educational opportunity as well.
They probably love the piston bowling.
Oh, that'd be super fun.
Great. Yeah, sounds like a good idea.
We can give Dick a ride up in the
That's
piston
enough
pulley.
copying appearances, I got it.
I couldn't pull up the minutes in my email, and they're not printed out here, so I'm not sure what we want to do about that. I mean,
I don't remember seeing them.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I do think they were sent out, but either way, we could approve them at our next meeting.
Right.
I think they exist.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it either.
I think it was a while ago, and probably,
Would they have
we've
come
seen
from
3
there?
other sets since then, so.
Yeah, they probably would have then.
Sorry.
I think,
Oh, they must be
I
from
think
the
he may have
321
sent
for
them,
me.
yeah, now that you mention it.
But they come to the wrong.
Who sent them, sorry?
From Eric.
Yeah.
Either Eric or E-News, I would have thought, but.
Because I just have the ones that we have October, August, and May from him, so.
Try, what about E-News? I mean, that might be a goose chase, because they're probably.
From Willow? Must be done those. Because he was doing by order, wasn't he?
He did do one, I think, yeah.
I don't think he did November, I think Eric did that one.
Or September? You looking for November or September?
November, our last meeting.
Mm.
In that meeting, we had the public hearing first, and we had the meeting afterwards.
Right. Yeah, I want to say, yeah, I think those did get sent out, so
Did we do the September minutes?
I believe so, yeah. I think Will did do those ones.
We did do this because they were approved in one of these, when I saw it, and said we approved, the October one said we approved them.
Gotcha.
Or the,
Well, maybe we should just plan to approve them at our next meeting. I'll try to find it in my email and send it back around to everyone.
I think the only thing that would be helpful here is we did take a vote, which was unanimous, to approve the prospect plan. And that's what we'll be
I didn't know
presenting
there
to the
was
selectmen
open
next Tuesday.
Let me see here.
Oh, they're from Julie. She sent them separately.
November minutes?
Yeah. She sent them separately as a Word document.
Yep, I see it, yeah, from Julie, yep. I mean, I can pull them up on my screen right now, and, oh, that's not them. I don't know if everyone can,
You want to just read through each section real quick?
Sure.
That'd be the most efficient.
all right. Chairman Cyrus called the public hearing to order. This hearing is to discuss the proposed Prospect Farm General Stewardship Plan. Chairman Cyrus thanked Ken Kimball for his diligent work on the current draft plan and additionally thanked everyone else on the commission for their input. Chairman Cyrus stated that the purpose for the hearing was to get public input on the draft so that it might be incorporated into the plan for consideration at the 2022 town meeting. This draft includes some minor changes that happened due to comments and concerns by the selectmen. Member Ken Kimball then gave a brief summary of the plan's goals, which are as follows: to meet the intent of the donor as well as the town's vote when it accepted the property, to describe the past and current ordinances, town votes, and agreements, and how well they match with the town master plan, and to update the recreational use regulations and policies. Member Kimball then discussed the results of the questionnaire regarding Prospect Farm, stating that the majority of respondents were not aware of the boundaries, specifically in so much as they were unsure of whether or not the land was private, town-owned, or national forest. Member Kimball gave some history regarding how Prospect Farm was willed to the town, with the primary intent being that the land would be used for recreational purposes. He stated that recreation has changed over time, but currently there are 5 ordinances that are directly related: noise, litter, fireworks, camping, and Class 6 roads. He further addressed the town agreements, or MOUs, for use of Prospect Farm, one of which is Jackson Ski Touring. He talked about the owners of the abutting properties and what they will and will not allow on their property. Member Kimball reviewed regulations and recommendations, citing 3 specific recommendations for Prospect Farm: why it's important to follow a forest management plan as developed by a professional forest manager. The manager must understand the recreational caveat involved, as that was the intent for the land, not forestry. An ecosystem inventory could be beneficial to help understand some of the unique species there. Determining the impact that the stump dump has caused on the native soil, bringing in foreign soil and non-native species. Member Kimball mentioned other areas for consideration, including signage and updated information in the kiosk, parking, motorized vehicles, biking, hunting, camping, hiking, walking, snowshoeing, and pets, and what was both allowed and prohibited. The draft plan also looks at long-range plans and recommendations, which there are 3. Exploring potential expansion if abutters are ever interested in selling, a longer-term arrangement with the Jackson Ski Touring Foundation, effects of climate change on Prospect Farm. Member Kimball opened the conversation for public comment, suggestions included more guidance regarding commercial use, expanded parking, and clarifying who can use Prospect Farm. Is it open to the public or limited to Jackson residents only? If it is limited, who is considered a resident? What type of permitting should be in place for commercial use, such as guided dog walking services? What authorization will be required for adding or altering any trails for, as an example, a bike trail? Chairman Cyrus made a motion to move the draft forward, incorporating language that both clarifies commercial use as well as obtaining required selectmen approval. The commission will continue the process for submitting the draft for the town warrant. The motion was seconded, all approved. Chairman Cyrus ended the public hearing and started the regular meeting at 7:56 p.m. Chairman Cyrus wanted to note that Dick Bennett would be a voting member for the regular meeting, since he was told that Tom Seidel would not be able to attend the meeting, even though he was actually able to attend. Next was the regular meeting agenda. Chairman Cyrus made a motion to take on a new minute taker. The motion was seconded by Member Byrne, all approved. Just to follow up on that, there was some conversation about whether we needed to go through any formal steps, and Julie said we did for that purpose. So,
Thanks.
Yeah. Jackson Falls. Chairman Cyrus thanked everyone involved in organizing and installing the sod, especially Pam for ordering the supplies. He also thanked Selectman Frank DeFuscio for coordinating with the Highway Department for additional help. It was suggested that after Prospect Farm Stewardship Plan was complete, it would be a good idea to develop one for the Jackson Falls as well. This would provide history, management plans, and future recommendations all in one document. Discussions regarding the newly sodded area and the recent storm led to a consensus that there are a few areas around the Jackson Falls that should be monitored during big storms. Final invoices for this project need to be tallied and paid. The signs that were added to the falls for parking this past year are the standard road signs that the Highway Department ordered. Next year, the Conservation Commission should discuss updating these signs to fit into the surroundings better. The Commission cited the need to continue the discussion on path surfaces that could accommodate handicapped individuals at the falls. Additionally, the outhouse should be turned or moved to the lower lot to accommodate the handicapped and provide easier access for all. The fence at the falls was originally a temporary fence, but it seems to be working well, so if everyone agrees, Eastern Green will fix the broken rail. Also, a decision will need to be made in the spring regarding the kiosk. Community garden. Someone has offered to help set up the community garden. He has participated in the community garden in his hometown of Massachusetts. More information needs to be gathered on how to get started, including resources and potential grants. A location needs to be determined. Wildcat River / Wild and Scenic grant update. Jackson Grammar School kids have been working with Tin Mountain collecting samples, writing questions, comparing results, and making conclusions. This is great as their work also incorporates some of the requirements that need to be performed by the commission. The kids have also noted the impact of the population growth to town, including as an example, the increased trash in the woods. Conservation easements. There is one easement due at the end of the year. The documents will be forwarded to all members again, so that should be corrected. I think it should say easement monitoring reports for all town-held conservation easements are due at the end of the year. Instead of there's one easement due at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Does everyone agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Wetlands. There are no updates for wetlands. New business. A sign seems to be missing up at Prospect Farm and it may need to be replaced. Public comment. There was no public comment. Chairman Cyrus made a motion to adjourn the meeting. Member Burns seconded. All approved, and the meeting adjourned at 8:30.
Move to accept
Okay. With that change to the conservation easement section.
for that amendment, yes.
And Ben, you seconded that?
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. None opposed. So the November minutes are approved. Great. Probably the longest we've ever spent on minutes.
I'm like watching this video. If they got into me.
I hope Eric doesn't feel the need to rewrite all of the minutes that I just read into these minutes, into the December minutes.
Then you can read it.
But I will say thanks to Eric for getting us up to date, getting 4 meetings done in the last month. Okay, so on to Prospect Farm and the final general stewardship plan and next steps.
Yeah, I circulated it. Everybody had a chance to chip in for the last time. Thank you, Ben, for your comments. Hopefully I covered it accurately here, which was to address the commercial. And I made the change where, what was it, if new bike trails, it's actually the selectmen in the end that would do the approval.
Right.
At least that's the way that Dick presented that it should be, so I made those changes. But those were the 2 changes. I did leave the stump dump the way it is. The language on the stump dump just simply says it will be closed. It doesn't say when. So it does give a little bit of latitude to have a grace period.
Yeah.
And then essentially Jeff and I will present it to the selectmen. We're on the agenda already from what I understand.
Yep.
On next Tuesday when they meet. And I've drafted up and sent to the selectmen as well what the article would look like in the town warrant. Which is very simple. It just basically said it was approved unanimously by this. And then whatever vote the selectmen take, and obviously they can suggest changes to that, but that's where we stand at the moment. And I think all of you got that.
Mhm. Yeah, that was good.
That sounds great. So I'll make a motion to approve and move forward this final draft for the select board's approval, eventually to go on the town warrant.
I don't think, we actually voted unanimously at the last meeting, so
Oh,
I don't think we need a second vote.
to include these changes?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
to approve to the amendments, if that
Fair
makes
enough.
sense.
Yeah, then I'll rescind that motion. Okay. Anything else for Prospect Farm? Other than hoping for snow?
A few people did go up and ski there today.
Yeah.
I didn't, but
Yeah. The snow stuck around more than I thought it would throughout the day. A little dismal. Okay, Jackson Falls. Well, actually, I should ask, was it you, Mike, that said something about the sign at the Prospect Farm, Falls Ledge sign?
Oh, yeah, that was me. I haven't gone back up. Well, I've gone back up to Prospect Farm since, but I've looked in the woods around it. But it is missing the sign that's when you're, like if you're standing at the summer parking lot and like in front of the new Forest Service sign and, Boggy Brook goes this way. There used to be, to your right, a small white sign that just said Falls Ledge and an arrow, and that sign's gone now. So just at some point, it's not like I think, terribly important, but I'm pretty sure that they were made by, I think one of the guys at the AMC. I think we ended up, I think it was George, I think is who it was. But Tom, they have a router there, and so they just,
Oh, that's right, it was Tom that said maybe he was gonna follow up with.
yeah, I think
Okay,
that's how
I see.
it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Because they can put them together out of kind of just, they get tons of scrap wood laying around, so they can kind of put it together pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And it's not like a, yeah, it's not a huge pressing thing, but it is helpful if you've never been up there and you're hiking and you're trying to figure out, and you don't want to look at a map, I don't know. They have that arrow.
And I think if we get this approved on the town warrant, we'll be redoing the main kiosk sign. We can go back and address all the signs.
Yeah, maybe we even want to hold off till then if you want to try and standardize them or have them look different or
Yeah.
something, you know.
Yeah.
So it might make sense to.
Okay. For Jackson Falls, I just need to gather up or kind of compile the invoices for the work that we did this summer. And I was trying to remember, is there one that we were still waiting on?
Well, I think we had, for the sod,
Yeah.
which was Nick, and then we had, Lucy Lumber,
Yeah.
which they got their invoice over right away, and then there was Fred Henry.
Yeah.
Those were the three, I think.
And we have those?
I don't know, because they send them directly, so as far as I know, Lucy Lumber is the only one that I know that actually went over, because they do it, like, you know.
Yeah, that one came in right away. Fred Henry, Lucy Hardware, and, sorry, remind me of them.
Nick, I can't remember what the name of his company was.
Which is the sod.
Yeah. Oh, I don't have his last name, just have Nick.
You have his phone number? I
Oh,
can
yeah, I
call
do.
him.
I do. 207-756-0762.
207-756-0762?
Yes.
Okay. Did we have anything else to discuss on alternative path surfaces? I left it on there because I know we hadn't really finished the conversation per se. But I think maybe we had just decided to try one of those.
What was the last thing we decided? That would be good.
I thought you
Well,
had,
we looked at those, that expanded, it's not expanded left, that's what I think of it in my head. But I don't know how well, I mean, we could do a test of that, to see how, if it works with the wood chips, because I think it's really designed to be used with gravel. So I don't know how much,
which was with the little cells.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think what we had discussed is just the section off of the road down the not at the handicap parking.
Yeah, actually from the handicap down to that first picnic table.
Right, okay. So just having that section being a test section.
Yep.
And my only concern about using that material with the wood chips is, you know, it's gonna require raking all of the wood chips that are down off to get it to below grade, so it can be refilled. But I guess maybe if it's worth in the long run picking a more durable travel surface versus something that can be seasonally refreshed.
As long as it doesn't cause more erosion, that's,
Right.
we're just trying to avoid that.
And I think going with the more durable decomposed granite or there's whatever that paving product, it's not a paving product, it's a pathway product. And the sourcing for it has been very sporadic. It's been hard to get around this area, so it's been quite expensive. So I guess in the long run, working out, is it worth doing that for the entire area, which I feel like would require a little bit more shoring up the trail just so that they're sloped and graded in a way that they're not going to be traps and shunt water to where we don't want it, versus just with the wood chips being more of an aesthetic than.
My guess is, and this is just because I've had a fair amount of experience moving a wheelchair, it may not be totally ADA approved, but that material that you talked about with the cells,
Mm-hmm.
whether you fill it with wood chips or whether you fill it with a crushed granite or whatever
Yeah.
it is that you're talking about, isn't gonna make that much difference. The thing is, as long as the cells are durable,
Right.
I mean, I know because I own a small camp on a Ziskos, and I moved my wife down in a wheelchair to get to the canoe, which is a sandy beach. I actually just take two old snowmobile treads and lay them down, because trying to push the wheelchair through
Mhm.
the sand is a no man's game. But I would guess that would work. And number two is there's not that many people, so it's not going to be a high volume. And if that wasn't terribly expensive, I would say let's just get some and try it. And if it doesn't work, then we can
Okay.
move on to the more expensive option, would be money.
I just looked up the prices for it, and now it's escaping my mind. But it is fairly inexpensive and it's easy to install, aside from.
I watched the YouTube on it,
Yeah.
yeah. it looked-
Aside from having to move over the football.
But that's easy. I mean, it's not a
You
long
said getting
distance.
down to grade.
Well, I guess that's the more complicated, like, how much effort do you get to, if you're just pulling the wood chips off, putting them back on, and just using that as a material to hold the wood chips in place versus a long-term durable path that needs all sorts of other engineering requirements rather than an experiment to see if that will work.
Because if the wood chips don't work, you could still just pull that up again, rake them out, lay it back down, and then put the other
Right,
material
right.
on.
Right, yeah, okay.
Let's give it a shot.
Okay, well, I'll chase that down, because that's long-term something I'm looking for something else that we'll probably need to add to the agenda pretty soon, but not to be vague, but I'm being vague.
All right. I think that's kind of where we ended up at the last meeting, but I was looking at the minutes and it cited the need to continue the discussion. So, sounds like a good thing to
And
try.
you circulated the YouTube, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. If you look at it, it's,
I couldn't find anything that was more specific to wood chips. It was all kind
Yeah.
of directed towards parking solutions and gravel pavers, so. So if that's something we want to go for, I can chase that down and get some pricing on it.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
and then on Jackson Falls, I did follow up. Remember, we made a suggestion at the last meeting to see if we could upgrade the aesthetics of the signs that are up there. And I think I put everybody on that email correspondence, but Dick had suggested check with Chief Purley. I did. Chief Purley basically responded and said that's the highway department. That's not me. So when we meet with the selectmen, I think we can bring it up with them to see whether there's any issues, and we may have to work it out with the highway department. And it's not to say that the highway department did it wrong. They did what they were asked to do. But then we could proceed ahead to see about getting signs that are made that, the no parking, so forth.
Don't offend people.
It's more just what we have up there right now it's just standard old signs, and if the Jackson Falls is special, it'd be nice to have something that aesthetically does the same thing but blends in better.
Just a quick thought, so back to that. One of the things that they said to use in conjunction with that lath material was a GeoTextile to help limit weed growth. Is that something we would want to install?
I feel like I've seen it come in rolls with that geotextile attached to the bottom. Have you seen that?
Very well. The one that I had found, it was just the plastic material without that, so it was an additional.
Yeah.
thing.
The only thing I would say is that we've never had weeds in the past.
Yeah, it's
that
pretty
I
well
really know of.
trumped
So-
down.
In terms of putting in more plastic, I don't know,
Right.
just a thought.
Well, it's also, if it's in a place that's flooded or prone to flooding, that would be something that's just more things that can get ripped out, so.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the bank, where they put that plastic material in
Mhm.
to hold it, it's just kind of nasty after a while.
I don't know how big the holes are in the bottom of the material without the geotextile, but it would also keep whatever you put in the cells in them longer, I would think. It would keep it separated from
From getting
material
pushed into the
underneath.
ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fines don't get out.
I think that was their main argument for using it in conjunction with that, is just so it doesn't get pushed down into the substrate, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it'd be worthwhile, especially if I feel like I've seen it come in rolls with that, just as one unit, just attached to the bottom of it, but maybe I'm wrong.
Because you can buy that, you can buy it, but some of those rolls are huge, and
Yeah.
it's not cheap when you have to buy it.
No. Especially
I
today.
mean, we have a very short distance, we need
Right.
animals, so
Right.
if you could buy it with it, that would probably be more efficient than going out and buying it.
What's the overall distance, would you guess?
From the road down to that bench, maybe 25 feet.
Oh, wow,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
those
about
roads are
50 feet,
enormous.
yeah.
Down to the bench or
Yeah,
picnic
Or
table?
picnic
Yeah.
table, yeah.
It's no more than 100 feet.
And the plastic net is a permeable thing that you're talking about, the geotextile?
It's the same stuff you can put in underneath your,
It-
you're putting in a brick walkway or anything
Yeah.
like that. That's pretty standard.
It's a drainage mat, it just keeps the fines from,
Yeah,
the different materials from migrating into each other. And
inhibits grass growing.
All right, well, let us know what you find out then. Thanks. I don't have anything for Gray's Inn. Any updates on the community garden, Pam?
Well, I don't know if I already let everybody know, but I did speak with Frank DeFercio. He didn't see any problem with us putting a community garden out back over that way. He did suggest maybe where the skating rink is, over in front of the town, the old town hall. But, this seems like a better location just because the one over there is very central and community gardens are pretty messy. So
Yeah.
you're better off over that way. Plus, the idea is that, you're not like some sort of performance thing going on there in the middle of the common over there. But, so I have somebody who volunteered to help me, Bob Valancourt, and I think he has an engineering background, but we're meeting on Wednesday this week at the library at 4 if anybody wants to come, because we're gonna go over there and try and figure out, space and orientation and all that sort of thing. I was thinking like maybe 15 we're figuring 8 by 10 plots, and then maybe 4 raised beds for people, who maybe, easier for people to access them, that sort of thing. And I'm not sure if we want to fence it or not. I would think we'd want to fence it, but Bob was saying that they don't fence over at Thompson House, but he was going to speak with the farmers over there.
They do fence, they have electric
You have to
fence.
fence it. Look at the ground files you've had at your place, right?
Electric fence, yeah. they
Yeah.
have.
An electric fence.
That's what they have at
That's what you have.
You'll also get deer in there. I
Oh,
mean,
big time.
yeah.
What about voles and that sort of thing? Voles,
Voles, I mean, that's just standard.
yeah,
You're in the woods.
yeah.
You'll have everything.
But there's also water over there. There's two sources. There's the library water, and then there's the, Bob was saying that there's a hydrant back there. And if you get permission, you could actually, I guess, tap into that.
Has anyone, just like kind of done a courtesy check-in with the library to like tell them that this is a thing that
Yes.
is happening?
No, because we haven't really even gotten to the point
Okay.
where we're,
It might not, yeah, maybe I live next door to Meredith, I might just mention it to her, because I just don't want them to read about this and think like,
Yeah.
because they use that space for programming, so I
Yeah.
just don't want them to think like, oh, like, underneath us, like, someone's trying to like,
Yeah.
I don't think that, I mean, just as a courtesy thing, just like,
Yeah.
hey, this is something
right,
that is being discussed, I want to make sure that you're aware of it.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. It feels like if you read this, you'd feel like this was in motion, and you might be surprised.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you were used to setting up a tent there to have a,
Well, I was over there.
It's where they do story time, I think.
Yeah, I was over there for their programming at the end of the summer, and it's pretty far back, over by the, the back of the library. So
Mhm.
I don't know that the community garden would be that far back, but I would.
Okay.
Because your ski training,
Well,
the
it's
grooming
the-
also goes in pretty
Right.
much where I think they use, the library uses that
Yeah,
space.
so that's why I'm staying away from the other side, because I know you guys have your,
Yeah, it's the
Trail.
back of the building, just sort of going straight back, and if you were on this side of the building, I think you're pretty safe.
so, we're trying to figure out some expenses, so it's good to know. Electric fence, how high a fence do you think you need?
it depends what you're trying to keep out, but, I mean.
Pretty much everything,
Yeah.
except people.
I mean, you'd probably have like a 2-strand minimum. I mean, it depends what you do. There's so many different approaches, but,
But how high a fence?
the pole itself is probably about 4 feet.
And how wide,
It's
The only
wire.
consideration to give on electric fence is you've got the library's
Right.
little path there for the,
Yeah.
for the
I
kids reading.
don't feel comfortable to even be involved in the whole conversation of like electric fences or anything, to be honest. Like, I
Yeah,
think we're way too far ahead of.
well, the only reason I'm asking is because Jeff had a potential source of funding for a grant. And so part of, I think, what you'd have to establish for a grant is that these are,
Right.
that these are the potential costs that you'd have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think an electric fence is something that you would have there, to be honest, with the library.
and the kids.
Kids,
Yeah.
yeah, that's just a bad idea.
And a lot of people walk their, they start here,
Yeah,
walk their
yeah,
dogs.
we just.
I would use a
electric
regular
fence.
wire fence.
Yeah.
It is, I don't know if people know this or not, because the school doesn't have a librarian this year, all library services are out of the Jackson Public Library. So the kids walk over at least once a week, that they all walk over there. So there would be like, I mean, assumedly they'll be able to hire a librarian at some point in the future, but as of right now, there are lots of kids kind of moving in through that area.
Okay. Well, I didn't even consider an electric fence, so that's fine with me.
Yeah, I think a fence is necessary.
Yeah.
But the electric fence came up just because that's what the Thompson House is using.
Okay.
But I don't think that's what
Okay.
would be a good idea there.
Yeah.
But minimum probably 4 feet for a fence.
And you can buy big rolls of that.
Yeah, you could do like a wire mesh,
Mm.
Yeah.
and then just
Right.
depending on what size critter you're trying to keep out, and if it's
Yeah.
like, if you're really going for durable, you might go with a coated, and if it's
Mhm.
just gonna be more temporary,
Right,
you could go with more like a chicken wire style.
right. No,
Yeah.
not chicken wire. I've done that at my own house. That doesn't work.
Yeah,
I mean, for groundhog, you're supposed to bury it and then, 8 inches and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, that sort of thing, but, yeah,
Yeah.
chicken wire's a real mess.
And you need the stakes,
yeah,
which are like $1 or $2 a piece, but if you're talking about the number you're talking about, that's
yeah.
a
And you're gonna
fairly
need-
big area. to
You're gonna need
close.
soil.
Well,
I mean, that's the other thing, like, that's not a tillable
yeah,
product out there.
Yeah, that's what
not-
Bob said. He checked it out. He said you have to remove like 3 or 4 inches and then put in loam.
Oh, I would imagine it's
And,
at least that, to
yeah,
have a tillable surface to grow anything in.
yeah.
That's like,
He said it's pretty much
Stone.
gravel. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, grass hardly grows there.
Yeah.
That's like good glacial.
probably stuff they moved in from somewhere else.
term for what's there.
But Frank.
What's, oh, sorry.
Rockin' singing.
Oh, what's out there? Oh, I'm sure there's some.
Till, Glacial Till.
Till, right, it's just,
So I was asking Frank if we might be able to get some help from the town to, you know, move that stuff, move this stuff that's not tillable off. And he couldn't really commit because they're down a man on the highway department. So doesn't know how that will work out. So that's kind of where we're at the moment. But like I said, 4 o'clock on Wednesday,
Right,
if anyone wants to
progress.
come and participate.
If you're thinking about putting together pricing for a grant, one thing, I don't know how far you are in this, but one thing I would think about too is building in a cost to be able to build in the standing height planters. Because my guess is that the population, and just the population of Jackson, like that's pretty beneficial for an older person, older population, and that's like, I know at the, I can't think, Stony Moral, whatever the Bartlett one is, they've got a couple of those. And you just see more of them around.
Okay, that makes sense for older people, yeah.
Yeah, you know, so that there'd be ones for people of different abilities,
Mhm.
right? So different heights of.
So-
And the downside to them is they dry out quite a bit faster.
yeah.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah.
I've never used one, so that makes sense.
Mm.
We'll work on that.
I'm trying to get there, I'm trying.
So Jeff, when do you have to apply for the grant?
So, yeah, it's January 15th, I think, is the deadline for a meeting to follow thereafter for the Pequawket Foundation is the source I was looking into. They provide a maximum of $2,000, which seemed to be around the magnitude that we'd be looking for.
Do they have an outline as to what, I've never done a grant, so that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, they do. And I'm happy to help with that. I actually talked to a board member for the foundation, and they seemed to think this was a really good fit for it. So, yeah, I'm happy to help. I guess if you want to work with Bob and kind of just circulate whatever information you develop to the rest of the, I can't make it on Wednesday, unfortunately,
That's
but,
fine. Kind of short notice, I know.
yeah. But yeah, if you can develop a bit of a plan and then everyone can comment on it, I think we have, over a month, so that the application is not, extremely intensive. It's fairly straightforward from what I saw. So I'd be comfortable putting that together, and if
That'd be
you'd
great.
like
And
to
I
help.
do like the standing planters, I think that's a good idea.
And that was something that I was gonna ask, if we should approve my submission of that grant in advance. I guess it wouldn't be till January 15th, so we have let's just wait until the January meeting, I guess.
Do we have to get anything approved by the selectmen before we apply for a grant?
It's a good question. Not that I know of.
I don't think, I can go back and look at the RSA, and I think it pretty much, but I think it says the Conservation Commission, through the state RSAs, can accept money. I think the selectmen approval would be, is going to the selectmen and getting formal approval that we can actually
Right.
do it out there.
Yeah, which we should probably do before that grant gets submitted.
Right.
Not to mention, maybe it'd be helpful to have a letter from the town supporting
Yeah.
that, even beyond the Conservation Commission. So maybe that's something we can tack on to our presentation in December. You think that's reasonable?
Yeah, I think if the prospect goes quick, yes. Because they're going into budgeting now, I think, if I'm correct. Oh, no, they've got the new fire building on the agenda, I think.
In December?
There's a discussion on the next steps. My recollection is the group that's working on the new fire building will be doing a major presentation. That's my memory, on the 13th, which is the day we're in there, so I don't know. But I think if we can go quick, we would just add it right on.
Okay.
Yeah.
If not, we may have the ability to get it on another agenda for that particular thing, so,
Thanks, that's great.
Yeah. yeah. Okay. And yeah, Mike, if you have the chance to talk to Meredith, I think that makes a lot of sense
Yeah.
to coordinate with them.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know
Hear
if
their
you
concerns and.
want someone there on Wednesday or not from the library, but
I'm sorry,
I
Ben.
can mention to the library that that will be there maybe Wednesday at 4, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that all right? Can I mention to them that,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
sure,
okay.
that'd be good.
They can come, just be a part of that too. I mean, I know it's town lane and they don't control all of it, but I just feel like as a courtesy thing, it's
I think
something
we
right.
can consider it, yeah.
Kind of neighborly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Sounds good. Mike, any updates on the Wild and Scenic grant? Is that moving towards closing out, or?
Yeah, sorry, I write that down so I don't forget. I actually just had to submit kind of like a mid-grant report, well, just a short update thing today, actually, this afternoon before I came, I sent it. So, yes, we've done the majority of the grant. So, yeah, thank you for coming out. And so we had field trips with K1, did a field trip with the Forest Service, and then the 2nd, 3rd grade and 3rd and 4th grade did field trips up and down the Wildcat with Upper Saco, with the town, and the Tin Mountain. And then just last month at the last school board meeting, 2 of the teachers, Miss Robert and Miss Kennedy and myself presented to the district, the school board, kind of the project and how things were going. And they all seemed really happy with everything. Kevin Richardson, the superintendent was there and he seemed really happy with it all. And so it sounds like the hope is that maybe this could become a permanent part of the 2-year looped curriculum. It would mean having to identify another funding source. The only the big question left is whether we can do the big thing was a hut trip at the end, taking the 5-6 up to Carter Notch Hut for them to do like a full kind of water quality analysis of the headwaters. And just with how things are trending in New Hampshire right now, we're gonna have to see if we're gonna be allowed to take kids on an overnight trip to a hut.
Yeah.
So that's the final piece that still needs to happen. Now, a couple other loose ends here and there, but hopefully we can still get them up there and hang out at the Carter Lakes, which would be awesome.
How long is that funding for?
So it's supposed to be everything in the grant is supposed to be executed by the end of this year, by 2021. But because of COVID, they gave us an extension to use some of that funding in the spring. Because we originally were going to do the hut trip in the fall, but there was no way we could possibly have taken kids anywhere in September. These overnight trips aren't happening. So our hope is that by May, as of right now, it's tentative okay. So hopefully by May we'll be able to do it. But yeah, so we have technically it's supposed to be the end of the year, but they gave us kind of an extension because they realized we're in a global pandemic. So
There is that.
yeah, they're nice about it.
Little things.
Yeah.
When they find out.
Okay, well, that's cool. I hope that does work out. But yeah, we should keep our eyes out for ongoing funding.
Yeah, and I may, coming back to the community, depending on how things go, it might end up being like we're going to have the Appalachian Mountain Club support part of the trip, and that may not happen anymore based on just it not working on their end. So at some point I might come to the community and say, who would like to carry 3 days worth of food up to Carter Notch Hut?
I do.
Pack up some food, because we talked about it. You put a full pack. If you just put a sleeping bag and winter clothes and water on a 5th grader, that's all they're taking. Let alone 3 days worth of food. So
It's about fasting as well.
right? Yeah.
It's a retreat.
Lots of life lessons learned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meditation.
No, that'd be fun.
So I think at some point we might put a call to the community to see if there are people that just want to
Just go
head up 19 Mile and
None of those here.
pack up some
Which way is
food.
shorter, 19 Mile or Wild River? I've never done 19 Mile.
So 19 Mile, I can tell you 19 Mile is 3.8 miles,
Yeah.
and it is approximately 2,000 feet of elevation gain. Coming from the other side is,
From
3.6.
yeah, it's probably a little shorter, but you're a little bit, well, actually, no, you might actually be higher on that side. So it's probably actually easier to come from the other way.
I think
It's a nice
Um,
there's
trail.
more brook crossings and it's a little more challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
10
they
years.
go
I-
up this side, they're staying within the watershed.
That's true.
That's a good point.
I thought 19 mile because it's so gradual, and just easy. It's just an easy trail. But yeah,
I took my nephew up on this town for an overnight up there. He didn't have a problem.
yeah. I have to see. I wonder what it's like in May. I have to see what the river crossings are like in May.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I took him in July.
That's the tough
July.
part.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah. Maybe we'll go from that side. That's beautiful that way.
Mm.
All right, I'll keep it posted. All right, let's see. So moving on to conservation easements. The first thing I wanted to do is just acknowledge and recognize the passing of John Pepper, which maybe all of you heard about. At the suggestion of Tom, he just mentioned that, John did contribute to conservation here in Jackson, particularly in the form of a conservation easement on Brookside Farm. And I didn't know John personally, so I reached out to Dick and Bennett and just asked if they had anything that they'd want to contribute, and Ann sent over these words that I'll just read quickly into the minutes.
Yeah.
So Ann said, John was fiercely loyal and devoted to his family, friends, and community. Those connections were deep and wide, and he worked at sustaining them. Though over the decades together they were world travelers, Jackson was always home for John and Alice, and they supported its core institutions, the Jackson Church and Public Library among them. John's love of the outdoors was legendary, whether sailing, skiing, wildcat preferred, later cross-country, running, or walking. He was a fixture on the 5-mile circuit later in life. Despite the aging process, John continued to take pleasure in the pursuits he was still able to enjoy. John lived life fully and ultimately achieved what we all aspire to, a life well lived. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Anne, for providing those words. Yeah. Thought that was important to do.
Yeah. Well done.
Okay, so next under conservation easements is monitoring and reporting.
All done?
How's everyone doing?
I've done. Yeah.
All set?
Mine's
Yeah.
done.
Mine's all set then.
Pam?
No, I have to go to Gabriel. I have to call her.
Okay.
I'll do that.
Ben, you're all done? Yep. Great. And I don't know, I think Tom has it on his radar.
Which one is Tom
Yeah.
doing?
What's he have?
Brookside, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I could also. I'm on that property all the time.
Okay.
I can do that too if you.
Yeah.
I can go. I can ask him
Yeah, sure.
because I'm there all the time. There to that.
Okay, great. That's good news. We're well ahead, it seems like. I don't have anything for wetlands. Any other new business?
I had a quick question. So years ago, we used to have on the agenda Washington Boulder as something we would talk about. Is that still town owned? Is that still something that we have to think about? I haven't.
Still town owned.
Still town owned. I didn't know. Like that used to just be something that we were like, oh, like it was kind of like the Gray's Inn, like, yep, still not there. Like, yep.
Well, the last thing that happened
Still there.
was when Bill Terry was here, and what happened is, the owner behind the boulder decided they wanted to cut stuff down so they could have a view. And so they cut a lot of stuff down, they took everything away, and it's pretty, sparse up there now. So there's not much going on.
Right. It's just gonna because it'll saplings and stuff will come in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know for a while I think a long time ago, didn't we used to mow it occasionally or do something like that? Or didn't we cut back so people could access the boulder at some point? Was that not something
Maybe
we
Bob
did?
it was when she's passed.
Yeah, Susan May.
Susan May. Right. I think she might have done some maintenance or
Yeah, she did, I think she did a little, it didn't look like it's been too overgrown, but I think it's a good idea to keep an eye on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just,
It's
that was
still
just,
town owned as
yeah.
far as I know, because I don't think the town could just, unload it.
right. I just hadn't been by it in a long time and didn't know like
Yeah.
if that was something we
Well,
ever
Jeff is
needed.
now living right next to it,
Oh
Right
yeah.
in my backyard.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
one down, yeah.
You can look up on the Dax map as to whether the town owns it or not.
I would think the town would have to announce if they were gonna do anything like that, they'd have to post it, so.
We just hadn't talked about it in a long, long time, so I didn't know if it was something we ever
Good
needed to.
point.
I'll do a little
Golden
research.
stand on top.
Didn't
Although it's
there,
pretty icy.
there was talk about a long time ago about trying to like make it more accessible, but it's like too like, it's just too, it's, you know, there's nowhere, you'd have to, there's like nowhere to put in parking, you'd have to like level
There's
so
a
much.
ditch there, I'm sure.
Yeah,
No,
like there's
you
nowhere
have-
for anyone to
You
park,
have to
there's
go
nowhere
over
for
the,
anyone
you
to
have to go over
go.
the end of their driveway. You have people who own that house there.
Mhm.
And then you're right in the, and I don't know if we even own the part that's on, that their driveway is on. But basically, I think you go over their driveway and then there's plenty of room to park right in front of the boulder. I'm not sure how far over it goes, so I guess that'd be interesting to find out. You know, is their driveway on the town land or is our access over their property? Don't know.
I don't know.
Could probably look at the map.
Might be in the town colors. Where is it?
It's right at
Tile.
tin line.
Yeah.
Where?
Left-hand side?
Yeah, left-hand side, it's a big glacial erratic. So after you go past Middle Mountain Trail, after Wildflowers on the right, Middle Mountain Trail, it's on the left at the height of the hill, the last big hill on
Okay.
Tin Line.
And it's, there's like, right, you have to stand at like a very specific angle, and then it kind
You
of
can see,
looks a little like George Washington.
You're saying on the Tin
Is
Mountain?
that what the story is?
Before-
That's
Okay,
the-
I didn't know
so-
what the.
That's what I've heard, right?
So-
Isn't that,
so-
But before or after?
I can't
It's
say
like-
that I've
it's like
ever
a
felt
mile
like,
up
oh, hey, I
from
get
the
it. And it's like, wait.
that's what I've heard. I've heard that it was, that you like stand, like if you like look, you can, right, can't you look at it at a very specific angle?
Oh, yeah, and
like,
you see Mount Washington or an Indian.
yeah,
I see
oh,
it. I
okay.
kind of see an Indian.
Okay, I thought it was supposed to be George
Washington.
Washington's profile.
Yes, George Washington's profile.
But you're saying if you go up the road before you get to where Tin
Before
Mountain's parking
Presidential.
lot is,
Past
Oh, way, way
past
above
it,
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
then you
yeah.
come up and then you hit the junction with Switchback.
Way above that.
Way
Yeah.
above.
Almost
Okay,
to
I-
presidential.
So
Yeah.
basically, it's like a mile from the, what is it, 5-mile circuit? So if you go up a mile
I-
or so.
It's
on
been
the
a while
left-hand
since I've
side.
been up there, but I think I know what it is now.
It's a pretty big rock.
Yeah, just above
It's a big,
Susan
it's a big
Maisel.
erratic.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, I'll do a little research. I'm curious now.
Yeah, and take a look at the maps, I would say, and just see, you know, if you look at where it is on the ground and what the maps say,
Thank
you
you.
know.
The tax maps are approximate, so
That's
don't
true.
take them as gospel.
Right, yeah.
You can't rely upon them legally.
All right, so a couple of quick things. The first one just being that I'm gonna be working on the annual report at some point over the next couple of weeks, so I'll send that around for folks to review in advance of the January meeting, hopefully. But that brings up the second one, which is, is there any issue with having the next meeting on January 3rd, which is the first Monday in January?
I don't have a problem
I
with it.
know in the past we've pushed it back sometimes, but that works for me, I think, so.
Works for me.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, keep it there. I do want to make a point of trying to provide a Zoom link when we can. Ann texted me, Ann Bennett texted me right before the meeting tonight saying that they couldn't get off Dundee Road, which is understandable because it's probably an ice sheet right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so Dick wasn't able to
Mm.
make it as a result of that. And so in the future, I'll try to provide a Zoom link for our meetings.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
I have pea stone on my driveway.
Yeah.
Would Tom be able to attend better if it's in?
He might. I think he mentioned that would be helpful.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my fault for not. I'm
Especially
still not
if
used to the hybrid thing. So yeah.
I had one, I know we've discussed this a little, but are we locked into the 7 o'clock meeting or the 5:30? How do you guys feel about that? I don't know if I'm trying to remember
We did
what we
discuss
took
it.
away from it.
I prefer 5:30, but I'm flexible. I'm willing to let other people have the time that they might like.
Yeah, I prefer the 5:30. I
Just
think,
because once you
as
get
well.
up, you don't want to come back. I don't want to come back down again, but I did.
I mean, I can make either work, but just at the end of my day, I'm always like, man, 5:30 meeting would be nice just to wrap up and be able to move on. But I know people have kids and other stuff. And maybe it's the opposite for some. But
So 2 for 5:30. Tom, I know, mentioned that I think 7 is generally easier for him.
right, 'cause he's, yeah.
Do you have a preference, Mike?
I mean, none of it's any good, but it all works. So, like, you know, it's all, no matter what time I leave, my wife's gonna be like, really?
But you just tell us one night a month.
So, yeah, either time is fine. Like, whatever, I mean, whatever.
Ben, Ken,
I'm ambivalent.
okay, Ben,
Well, I can make 5:30 work. I prefer earlier than later, so.
okay. Seems like we're pretty well split, because I personally kind of like the 7, but I'm also fine with either, so, guess I'm generally hearing 5:30.
Would you rather do early? Is that what you're saying?
No, like, 6 is good for me, but if you don't mind me showing up in my dirty work clothes, I'll have to put a towel down on the chair.
I know, I'm just, it's just hard to.
5:30 was the historic time, right? That was,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that was what it
yeah.
was when we were going.
It's just a weird time fill, like you get done and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. And then,
Yeah, right.
And then to get here at 7 ends up being more difficult than getting here at 5:30 because it's like, I feel like I'm
Yeah, it started raining.
trying to
hard when I
step
came
into
out the
something
door.
else. But selfishly, I'd be like, I'd actually set it after 5:30
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
in between, just like a weird time to
Yeah.
try to fill.
that's true. I just experienced that, so tonight, I guess I feel like the strongest voices are for 5:30, and everyone else seems kind of okay with whatever,
You
so,
want to try it? We could just,
sure,
if it's a no-go, I mean,
yeah. All right, so next meeting, January 3rd at 5:30.
I'll try to make sure I make this one. I thought you guys did 7.
And it will be definitely on time, too.
Yeah, I'm writing that down. It's in the minutes.
We'll know if Mike's not on time. He'll get called out in minutes.
Yeah, I know, right?
Parentheses.
Yeah.
Bold.
Mike able to stumbled again. Stumbled in late again.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Meeting adjourned.
See, like, the trick is to get here like within 10 minutes.